You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
What's up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 227. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello. We're all waving. The host of Large Popcorn and video producer at DualShockers, Christian Macias, is not joining us this week, but he will return. And the DMZ daddy, the former Tarkov Teletubby, Gage Dempster at Gilbo Biggins.
How are you doing today, Daniel?
I'm doing swell now that we are here.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I need from you.
Let's go. Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our 2024 Xbox Developer Direct reactions. Of course, that was last Thursday. We will talk about that in the tots. But first, the show normally starts with the quick bites, but let's first go ahead and jump right into some housekeeping. The first housekeeping item, remember, set your alarms, set your calendars. Next week is the PXN Game of the Year for 2023. We will be having a very exciting debate over Game of the Year. Christian is going to make some ballots for our submissions. That'll be exciting times. Don't get too excited, guys. One more housekeeping item. I threw this in here instead of quick bites because it was something on the back of what we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. Remedy has clarified to IGN that their trademark dispute was settled a long time ago with 2K, apparently, and the legal filing was simply an initial formality, and Remedy and Take-Two continued to work together in partnership. So I thought that was something I should just throw in there. Something
that's good. It's good clarification, yeah. Although it's funny that it's like this was settled a long time ago, not that it didn't happen, which means that they still definitely went after them for that ridiculous,
which is stupid.
Yeah, very silly.
All right, now time for the quick bites. Our first quick bite is not a good one. Riot Games has announced 530 employees have been laid off, which comes out to be, I believe, 11% of their staff. Not good at all. Like, this is already a horrible year for layoffs, and that's coming off of last year, which was also horrible. So not a great start at all for the video game industry here.
Right. It's just bad. There's no real kind of upside to it. I will say, when I was looking into this, it does seem like Riot Games is at the very least giving their employees a lot better benefits and severance than most companies do. I did read through an article that kind of detailed exactly what the employees are getting, and it's again, comparatively, relatively to the industry, they are at least giving their employees a chance to make something of themselves and giving them some financial security. Would have rather them not see them laid off, because the teams in question have done nothing but produce like quality things and like well received things, so there's no excuse for it. But at the very least, I think it's the bare minimum you can do as a giant corporation is do something right for the people you're letting go, and I think Riot Games at least did that. But it's like, what can you do as a video game developer, as somebody in the industry? Like, it seems like your job security is not tied to performance or to any sort of metric that you can measure anymore. It just seems like at any given moment you can just be let go regardless of performance.
Yeah, just have to get lucky, I guess, which is crazy.
Get lucky and then stay lucky. Right? Like,
yeah, because it doesn't matter what you do, like you said. It's like, yeah, just it almost feels like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop at any moment.
Right.
But like you said, it's shitty, but at least they made it a little less shitty with
Right.
the severance thing, like, because when Bungie had their layoffs, it didn't do anything like this. At least not as much support for who they laid off, and the stock thing that they had for them to, they got to keep their shares or something. I forgot the exact language
Yeah.
there, but
Wasn't
it's
it
like
with something with the timing of when they did it?
Yes.
They lost all their right.
Their stock,
yeah,
yeah.
they lost their stock with the Bungie one, but here in the Riot one's like the complete opposite. They were able to keep their stocks, and it's like, which is again, like you said, the bare minimum stuff. But when you're so used to all the horrible stuff that the game developers or the game publishers and companies usually do, this seems like, wow, that's amazing. But it's like
Right.
you said, it's just less shitty than usual.
Yeah, I agreed with both of you. And yeah, there was a post that I linked to here, which I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we're not going to, apologize for Riot doing this. But yes, it is very good benefits for severance compared to the rest of the industry. That's for sure. Yeah, very
I
good
think
stuff.
Kotaku has an article with all the layoffs that have happened so far, and it's gonna, well, hopefully it won't. Hopefully this is the last one. I doubt it, but as the year goes on, I'm sure that list is unfortunately going to grow. But it's crazy to see how long the list already is, and we're only a month in.
Right. It's not even February yet. That's crazy.
Insane. But some brighter news. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl has a release date of September 5th, 2024. Hopefully this sticks, and I'm just glad for this team that they finally, they've been through literal hell in Ukraine, and yeah, this is great that this is finally getting a release date and coming out, and hopefully it's positively received because I really am pulling for this team.
Yeah. I am too, but also it's on my fantasy league, so I'm really pulling for them.
That's something I would say. Wow. Gage is actually, that's how you know Gage is actually in it for once, Ro.
I am in it to win it, baby.
Taking this seriously. I like to see it.
I need you guys to crunch like you've never crunched before. You don't need to see your families. Forget them. They're irrelevant. You need to stay at the office, hit this release date.
Incredible. Jesus.
Too seriously. Oh god.
I need this win. You don't know how bad I need this win.
You know who needs a win? Rocksteady's co-founders have formed a new development studio called 100 Star Games. I think I read actually that they have kind of an interesting idea. So their ethos is of creating a small team of only 100 industry veterans and emerging talents who are committed to crafting cutting-edge gaming experiences that inspire and captivate players worldwide. So it seems like they're trying to keep this as a smaller AAA team, so to speak. Yeah, obviously
with a small loan of $1 million from my father,
yeah.
100 industry veterans is quite the workforce.
And the other thing is like, I hope them only having 100 people and saying like these committed and industry veterans, like hopefully these words aren't meaning like they're gonna make them work like absurd hours to make this video game as well. But I am interested to see what they do because I think they did awesome with the Batman Arkham series, and they left before the whole Suicide Squad thing shook out, so it's almost like they had some problems with that, or maybe they just didn't agree with that and Warner Brothers wanted, I don't know. But interesting, no less.
For sure.
But speaking of Rocksteady, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has announced free Joker DLC. So you will be playing as the Joker in this DLC. It was announced in the third and final developer diary series for Suicide Squad, and they revealed the post-launch content for its upcoming game ahead of its release. They detailed the roadmap, this first season of DLC will be released sometime in March. Some additional content in Season 1 includes new boss fights, new enemy variants, and a new playable environment based on Joker, and 2 new episodes with new activities, missions, and strongholds to partake in. This new Joker is like a new twist on the Arkhamverse, because obviously the Arkhamverse Joker, spoiler alert, died in Batman Arkham City, right?
Night.
Because
No, it was City.
Night he
Because-
came back as like his head, in his head. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how fans kind of react to this new Joker. I will say interesting, I guess. I don't. It's hard to replace Mark Hamill.
Right.
Yeah, but this is exactly like what we were talking about last week about the DLC. With I think Gage mentioned this, where the reason that they may feel so lifeless, or you could insert anybody, is because they're going to have all these DLC characters,
Yep.
and here's
Right.
the first one. So who's to say who's next? But
Yeah.
the fact that they don't feel interesting is exactly like Gage said. They're just going to be popping a bunch of characters in each other's place.
Yeah. Unfortunate. All right. The last quick bite. This is something I threw in totally for me. I apologize unapologetically. I unapologetically apologize. I don't know. That's an oxymoron, but Stargate Timekeepers is a challenging and enjoyable stealth tactics game that lovingly pays homage to the classic television series that inspired it. This is from IGN. They reviewed this game. I didn't even know this fucking game existed until I saw them post this review. They gave it an 8, which is great. And I don't even normally like stealth tactics games, but with this case of it being Stargate, I might have to try this game. I love, anyone who knows me, I love the original Stargate SG-1 series on Sci-Fi. Fantastic. So I'm down to try this. I think they were saying that the IGN said that the story is kind of not really there, but like the world building and like, that environment of being in the Stargate universe is 100% there. So that's what makes me interested. I don't know. So there we are.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're going to move into the PXN news of the week. The first item, Palworld, is getting all kinds of attention right now. It's getting some insane numbers right now. So some statistics here. It's sold over 7 million copies in 5 days. 5 days.
Wild.
For an indie game. Insane.
And that's not including that's literally sales, like you said. It's not Game Pass. Literally people
Yes.
buying the game on Steam, which is insane.
Insane.
And speaking of Xbox, the daily active numbers for players have surpassed Fortnite on Xbox. So obviously Game Pass is helping that quite a bit. And that's insane because Fortnite is like a juggernaut every single week at the top of the charts. Insane numbers. Like, did you guys expect this to happen? Like, fucking, it's Pokemon with guns. Like, this is, or like the gameplay's not Pokemon, but like, you know what I mean?
Right. No, I definitely thought that this was going to, like, I was expecting in 1 week that it might do like 1.5 million. Like, I thought it was going to have a nice little, like, exciting start, only for the fact that people on PC have been wanting some sort of Pokemon type experience. So I expected it to blow up a little bit because of that. I didn't expect it to continuously ride this wave of people playing it. And again, this time next month it might be dead in the water, but the fact that it hasn't dropped off already, like it's more than just a gimmick. It's more than just a cash grab because people have continued to play it like continuously. So the fact that it's not just malware and like some like, so like the day before or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what kind of is surprising me a little bit, where it's like, oh, there seems to be an actual game here that people enjoy, and then apparently 7 million people enjoy it. That's kind of wild.
Yeah. And I didn't expect it to do this well, and it wasn't until like a couple of, I guess, a week or two before the release that I was thinking it was malware. I was thinking like, there's no way this game is real. Like the earlier trailers that we got even years ago, it's like it just looked like there's no way that this game actually exists. Obviously, It came out and does exist. But yeah, I wasn't when we were coming down to release, I did expect like it would be successful for like an indie success. Like,
Mm.
but I wasn't expecting these numbers. Like these numbers are huge numbers. So yeah, it's impressive. We'll talk about the controversy, I guess, later on. But congrats to them, I guess. Maybe not. But yeah, it's cool to see it do so well.
Yeah, and to speak to what you're alluding to there, Ro, there has been a lot of comparisons made to other games that are definitely, I think we would agree, inspired by these games at the very least. But I'm interested in your guys' thoughts on, like, do you guys think this is like a blatant ripoff? Like, I mean, Pokemon obviously is very much a influence here by the monsters designs. There is somebody that posted on Twitter. He laid over one of the models from the game Luxray from SV. I don't know what SV is.
Scarlet and Violet.
Scarlet and Violet. Okay. So
That's the model.
Luxray. Sorry.
No, just saying that's the model that they use in Scarlet and Violet. That Pokemon isn't from Scarlet and Violet. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, he laid them over top of one another, and they have very similar like design elements, I'll call it. So it is interesting seeing that kind of stuff. Now, this person said you and your cousin have exactly the same proportions, which people ended up fact checking him in the comments below. They are not the exact same proportions. He had to scale up the one to actually match that one, but the design I think is similar. I think is what people were gearing towards. But yeah, what was your guys' thoughts? Or do you guys think that this is like a blatant ripoff, or I don't know?
For some of the designs, I do think so. Like the Luxray one that we were just talking about, even though it's not the same proportions, the wireframe that he put over the other one fit when he did scale it up, which you could just easily scale down
Right.
after you finish tracing it.
Yep.
So I think that they did steal a couple of stuff, and having a wireframe like that, a lot of animators chimed in saying that having a wireframe sync up so closely to another one is like that's not a coincidence. That's because you copied it. That doesn't just like happen like that in that situation. So yeah, there's a couple of stuff that they definitely just swiped from Pokemon. And I think Twitter is like one of the worst places to have these types of discussions. Obviously, we talked about it on the podcast before, how these discourses just get out of hand so quickly when it's not super simple, where I think I could say here that I'm very much against them stealing assets from Pokemon, but also can say like, oh, Palworld's a fun game, and still believe that stealing art is wrong.
Right.
And still think that Pokemon has a long way to go with how much they've been phoning it in these past couple of years. And seeing Palworld do this well does make me happy, because hopefully that makes Game Freak like look at what's happening and maybe set a fire underneath their butt to make some changes. So I think both can be true, where I want Palworld to succeed, but I also don't want them to steal from artists who made some of these designs. So yeah, I definitely am not happy about that part of the whole thing.
I think that's totally a fair take. I wonder if because like not that it excuses it at all, because like stealing assets is stealing assets. There's no like a lot of things like, oh yeah, context matters, but like when it comes to video games, especially like an art form like animation, stuff like that, stealing assets is kind of just like a no, like don't do that. I do wonder if I think they could really save themselves a lot of trouble is if now with the success of Palworld, because from what I understand, as somebody who doesn't play Palworld and somebody who might not, I don't know if it necessarily speaks to me as much as I thought it might. I wonder if because they're getting so big that it might just be better for them to take the 10 or so really offensive Pokemon that seem to be stolen and just remove them from the game, and kind of, because like I don't know how big this team is. I'm guessing it's very, very small, like probably 10 or under if I had to guess. and they maybe were not expecting this game to blow up as big as it is. It might be beneficial for them to just kind of like get rid of that stuff and actually give it a proper attempt, because like Roshan said, if there's one thing that this whole debacle has made clear is that there is a platform of people that are dying to play something like Pokemon and that want that kind of experience. And it sucks that we're having this conversation because like I look at this on paper and it's something that I should be cheering for, where it's like a small indie team taking a format that a giant corporation does and that has been getting lazy with. They take that, they do it better, and it blows up. Like all that stuff is a recipe for something for me to cheer on. But like Roshan said, that it's just tainted a little bit with the designs and the some of the choices that they made in that way. So I don't know. It is. I mean, Roshan's absolutely right. It's both things. Both things can be true at once, and it just sucks that we have to. This could have been like a total win as opposed to like a partial win, but yeah, I think absolutely inspired is definitely a diplomatic way to put it. But yeah, so I've seen from what I've seen on Twitter is that yeah, there's at least like a dozen or so designs that are very, very inspired, we'll say.
And they've got to be doing something right for people to be playing the game. Like the game itself stands on its own. Like if they actually design the Pokemon themselves, that would just be a plus.
Right.
If it, like you're saying, it just taints the whole thing a little bit because people, like you said, want to play Pokemon, but they just don't want to play Pokemon, which should scare Game Freak a lot, honestly, that this is doing so well when their game exists, when people could just go play that. Obviously, not everybody has a Switch, but what I'm saying is that like people want that type of game, but aren't going to Game Freak for it because of how bad the games have become technologically and all systems and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it's I think it's good and bad, and I think it can be both. It's just not super simple, as Twitter seems to make it out to be sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're totally right about that too, Ro. Like it's not that fact that they're stealing the few Pokemon designs or whichever ones have been stolen, that people are playing this game. People are playing this game because it's fun. So it's like, why did these developers even steal those characters? Like I could create a cute character with the Pokemon art style. Just put a little bushy tail on the end, fucking make it glow, and there you go. There's a Pokemon. Like, fuck.
But like I was telling you guys in the chat, like there are artists on Twitter who make fake Pokemon designs all the time, and they don't look like Pokemon that already exist. So it's possible,
right,
to do. They just, I don't know why, they just decided not to do it. Yeah,
for sure. All right, Ro, I'm gonna apologize for this segment of PXN News of the Week because we are going to dive into the January 30th Halo Infinite update and talk about the future of updates coming to this game. So we have a new 4v4 map coming called Illusion. I was telling Gage about this before he had seen it, and it's very cool. Just in terms of like the nostalgia factor, it's cool because there's two bases, one on each side. The one base has a old school active camo power up that's behind like a barrier that you can't get to. And then the other side is an old school overshield power up that's behind a barrier that you can't get to, but you can see them. And like those designs of those original power ups, Ro, are like super iconic. So like people have been like super jazzed to see those back like in the Halo sphere again. But what's really cool is this is like a testing facility, and they're testing like the camouflage and the overshield. The overshield side, it has all kinds of warnings and like errors that it's like broken, and the active camo side says that it's in testing or whatever. So in the middle of the map, there's a section of the map that if you walk into that part of the map, you turn invisible because it's like they're testing the active camo. It's
Oh,
the lore in this map is really, really cool. I like it.
Whenever they bring world building into a multiplayer map for any kind of game is
Yeah.
really, really cool. I think that's something that's been missing from the Call of Duty franchise, where it's just kind of like shooting gallery, shooting gallery, shooting gallery. And I mean, and to be fair, like Halo Infinite hasn't had a lot of this.
Right.
So it's not necessarily something that Halo does better than other franchises. Like most franchises do that, but this is a really cool. I like this. Like this is, like you said, not only is it a nostalgia throwback, but it's kind of cool to see like, okay, this is some sort of research base where they're researching the, you know, the power ups from the old games, trying to see how the technology works. Even though I'm going to be busy shooting Dan a million times while I'm playing on this map, it's kind of cool that that's at least there that you can stop and look at and be like, oh, they've made a cohesive effort to kind of tie this into the greater story. That's really cool. This is a really cool map.
I think what you meant to say is you'll be watching the death screen. Because
No. I'll be. That's all right. 1v1 on the, as soon as this map comes out. 1v1.
Oh, okay, easy. I'll stream it live for our
All right,
audience.
let's do it. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah. Okay, so we also got. I'm gonna do this part next because it makes more sense to transition into the next part. Halo Infinite was also announced to be transitioning from a seasonal model, so no more season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., to just being operations. So they've already been doing operations for a while, but now operations are essentially your new seasonal model without it being seasonal. So these operations will last 4 to 6 weeks each. They come with 30 free tiers of items that you can unlock. No, this does not mean the support on the game is ending, despite what I've seen blow up in some places. Obviously, not everyone's saying that, but some people I've seen say that, and I'm just like, what? No. So what I do think that this illustrates, and what they specifically said on stream, is there is a portion of 343 that has started working on their next game, which is exciting for me. And I think Gage would agree with me that we were both not super jazzed about them announcing a 10-year plan for Halo Infinite from the get-go. So now that they're kind of backtracking on that and saying, well, no, we're working on the next game, yeah, that's much better. I'm very happy to hear that and excited to see more from that. Also, we got some playlist updates that they talked about. So we're getting 3 new big team battle maps that they're adding in, Firefight, King of the Hill maps that are being added in next month, both next month. They talked about Husky Raid maps, Squad Battles maps, which me and Gage are very big fans of Squad Battles. It's a classic big team battle mode that has classic Halo maps in it, which is awesome. And there will be new playlists. And they are still working on Match Composer as well, akin to Halo the Master Chief Collection, if you've ever played that, as well as the new networking model. They didn't put that there, but that is something that is on the way as well. But diving more into the update, they're calling it CU29, which is terrible, like, fucking name for it, but whatever. Like, I don't understand why not just call this the Spirit of Fire update? Like, because that's what it is. The operation is Spirit of Fire in the akin to Halo Wars 2, Halo Wars 1, which is the Spirit of Fire ship in that game. But yeah, CU29, Content Update 29 is what it's called. But what we're getting in that is, of course, the map we already talked about. We're getting three free operations that will be spread across the 4 to 6 week windows that I talked about. The first one will start with the Halo Wars themed Spirit of Fire, which is very cool. They talked about the Forge improvements that they have on the way. So there's a ton of new features and improvements coming to Forge, including a Covenant palette for the first time, which is really exciting because we can finally get like true Covenant maps in Forge for people to create, which will be really cool. Mode Creator, which is essentially like Forge for creating modes, which is very exciting. It should create a lot more custom game modes for people to create and have tons of custom game fun. So that's cool. And we got a customization overview, which gave us a closer look of Mark IV's armor core, which Mark IV row, I know we're boring you at this point, but Mark IV's armor core is from Halo Wars also. So
I think I saw this on Twitter where
Yeah.
you retweeted it and you were like, "Oh my god,
yeah, Mark
Mark
IV.
IV."
Yes. And we're getting customization improvements, including the ability to have cross-core shoulders, so you can put any shoulders from any of the cores on all the stuff. So now you have helmets, shoulders, and what am I missing?
That's just it. That's it.
Just-
No, there's one more. Coatings
Oh,
that are all cross-core. So very exciting. Yes, Ro.
I do want to make mention that I don't think we ever talked about this on the pod, but Destiny now allows you to change your character's face
Oh,
10 years later.
hell yes.
years later, let's fucking go.
I just wanted to bring that up because we're talking about customization. But
Wait,
and
from
Bungie
the
also-
original game? That's crazy.
yeah, and well,
Holy
they're
shit.
in Destiny 2, they're allowing you to do it now.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked.
That is crazy. Yeah.
My goodness.
We did it, boys. We did it.
We did it. We finally did
We
it.
did it.
So
And
that's all the
also-
goodness coming.
Also,
Yeah.
how is your push-up thing going? Have they released that?
They
Is that
have
what you're about
not.
to say?
They have
Oh,
not.
okay.
They
have
might not. They might
Yeah.
not too. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I told Dan on, like, it was like day 31, and I was like, Daniel, there's a
Yeah.
reality we have to acknowledge
That
that they
doesn't
might not
happen.
really.
Yeah, because there's a shitload of armor in the history of all the Halo games, and yeah, obviously not all of them are gonna come to Halo Infinite. So
Well, my big thing is that I worry that in 343's mind, Anubis is the rogue of
Yeah.
Infinite,
Which
right?
is fair.
Like, that's right, and so you might be.
yeah,
I mean, it's gonna work out either way because you're gonna get fucking buff, but
yeah. I mean,
2 years from now, you might be on day 643.
Actually, me and the dude who started this, we've already made a gentleman's agreement that it's stopping at 100. So, so there's already an agreement in place. And I stopped posting the videos because I was tired of editing the clips together. But I said it's still happening. I'm just not posting the clips.
That's sus.
Oh, come on.
That's sus.
It's happening. Jeez. All right. So one last thing. This is from XLR8. He's a community member I follow and I enjoy many of his posts. He says, lots of chatter about infinite abandonment with the new update cadence. Just remember, Master Chief Collection went from broken to the greatest Halo experience ever, all while Infinite was being built behind the scenes. Infinite still has plenty of growth ahead, even with new experiences on the way, which I think is very important to acknowledge that, Master Chief Collection as well.
As we mentioned earlier, Twitter is always doom and gloom. So Infinite, I don't expect Infinite support to stop. I do think it's like, again, I don't know what the tweets or what people are saying, but I think that it's fair to look at this and say, like, okay, priority shifted to the next Halo game.
Yeah.
Like the content support for Halo Infinite will probably scale down. I don't think it's gonna go away completely, but I think it's fair to look at something like this and see how the seasons are going away to think like, oh, okay, they're shifting priority. They are moving assets away from Infinite to the next Halo, which is a good thing in my opinion. Like you and I don't think I made a prediction, but I think you and I talked about this when they originally talked about their 10-year plan for Halo. I was like, well, there'll come a time where the fans will be okay with that not being the thing and being ready to move on to the next thing. And I think most people are kind of there. Halo Infinite was like a really good learning tool, I think, for 343. Where the game is now in terms of gameplay and in terms of art style, like 343 has gotten a lot of feedback on what they've done absolutely right. So I think taking all this and moving it into the next iteration of Halo and moving it over to the new engine, like I'm personally very excited to see what they can do with everything that they've learned from Infinite.
Yeah, my only worry is Microsoft, honestly, because at the end of the day, Microsoft wants that dollar. Like they want the money coming in, flowing in. So like, what's the next monetization practice going to be for Halo? And like at the end of the day, it's going to happen whether we want it or not. So I'm interested to see how they handle that.
That's a really good point too, because 343 is in an interesting position where if the next game launches, and like say like I think it's outside the realm of possibility that they can't have things like cross-core, right? They're gonna have to have things like cross-core. They're gonna have things like universal codings. So that's a really good point for you to bring up, where it's like they took a lot of shit, and I personally think rightfully so, for the customization at launch of Halo Infinite. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, like, okay, so what's the game plan for the next one? Because a lot of this stuff you can't backtrack now, I don't think,
Right.
especially with the positive reception of them undoing a lot of those decisions, right? So that's a really good point. I am kind of curious and worried as to what that'll look like in the next Halo, but yeah, I mean, hopefully, like, I don't know how many times it needs to happen, but hopefully somebody at Microsoft is like, okay, you know what? This is the game where we let you guys have complete free reign just to get everybody's goodwill back. So hopefully this time's the one where they kind of take their foot off the gas and say, all right, guys, you make the game you want to make. We'll focus on getting everybody happy about Halo, and then maybe later we can worry about milking our customer base for all it's worth.
We got to take them to the farm and milk them.
Milk them. I don't want to be milked anymore, 343. I'm all dry.
Gosh. All right. Moving into our fantasy draft check-in. Gentlemen, I had no freaking idea. We got 2 games that have gotten scores. And we'll start with none other than Romana Flowers Gaming publisher. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth has gotten a 90 on OpenCritic right now. It is not final yet, but that's looking pretty good for you.
Yes, hopefully it stays like that or goes up. If it's not
True.
final, go up. If it's
True.
It's not
They're gonna
going up.
change
It was
the
at
goal.
91 and now it's at 90. You're
Oh,
gonna
no.
listen, you greedy bastard. You're gonna get 90 at tops, if not 89, and you will be happy.
I
Incredible.
will be happy with a 90. Yes, I will take that. I forgot that I drafted this because when Christian sent in his me and Dan in the chat,
Oh,
me and Dan, when we
yes.
both got 92s, I assumed he was talking about Infinite Wealth because that's the game that I saw on my timeline. It's
Yeah.
like, damn it, I didn't pick that up. I did.
You did.
See, that's what's funny because I saw that and he had posted what's the game called? The drop ODST drop pod like game.
Oh, Helldivers.
Helldivers.
Oh, yeah.
He posted Helldivers 2 like right before or after that. So I thought he was
Like
talking
this.
about that. So I looked it up on OpenCritic. I was like, what is he smoking? That game's not even released yet. But then, yeah, I turned this on and saw what he was really talking about. Yeah. Which is Tekken 8 that Christian has gotten scored, and it has also received a 90 on OpenCritic. Holy shit. Wow.
Year's off to a good start.
Yeah.
Good start.
This is going to be a competitive year this year. I'm nervous. We did have a couple of pickups as well. So going to the log here, Romana Flowers Gaming picked up another Crab's Treasure with a bid of $5. Tell us, what is this game, Ro?
Another Crab's Treasure is an indie game by Aggro Crab,
Oh,
and it's like a Souls-like game, but you're under the sea as a crab, and you're like a hermit crab, and your shield is like your shell, and you could swap it out for like cans and obviously some other stronger materials and stuff like that. But it looks really cool. I think it was supposed to come up last year, but it got delayed. But yeah, it looks like a pretty fun game.
What's the game called? What's the title of the game? Sorry.
Another Crab's Treasure. Another.
Gage heard Soulsborne and he's like, I want to be punished.
I just want to see what this looks like. This sounds
Pretty.
hilarious.
It's coming to the Switch too, I think. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 games being picked up by Maidenless Gaming. You may have heard of this publisher before. They acquired South of Midnight with a bid of $5 and acquired Frostpunk 2 with a bid of $6. Please explain these, Gage. Why?
South of Midnight, I've got no good excuse for. I was going through my dark corners of the internet looking up leaks and rumors, and somebody had said that they think South of Midnight's gonna get a shadow drop at some point this year.
It could.
And the person that posted it, I did some googling, and I was like, okay, there might be something here. I don't know why that got me excited to pick it, because a shadow dropped game doesn't necessarily mean it's a good game. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I couldn't tell you why, but I'm maybe hoping that Compulsion Games cooks up something pretty good with this. Frostpunk, though, the first game is considered a really, really good city builder, real time strategy, survival city builder. And I looked up the review scores of that first one. And it's apparently the second one is one of the most anticipated in the city building RTS genre. So I'm hoping that we get a full release and we get something good in terms of review scores. So
Yeah,
Frostpunk is the one that I'm putting all my bets on.
tonally, I'm very excited for South of Midnight. Like, that trailer was really sick.
Right.
I'm just, like you, I'm a little trepidatious because of Compulsion's history. They show stuff very well. Like, We Happy Few showed very well, but then gameplay wasn't.
This could be the same thing with South of Midnight, because tonally, We Happy Few looked fucking awesome,
Yeah.
right? Like this weird alternate post-war that seemed super cool. And then you're right, the gameplay was meh. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I made a mistake, but you know.
All right. Let's move into what you got for me. I've only been playing Halo still, so yeah. I apologize. I was going to play all these games for Game of the Year next week. I still haven't. I hope I do by next week. Maybe I'll play some Mario. Maybe. I don't freaking know.
You can do it. You can just not. All you have to do is not boot up Halo, and
I
then you can play all these
know.
other games.
I know, but it's a problem. Ro, what you got for me?
I've been playing some more Pokemon, gotten further into the DLC. What I should be doing is playing Palworld, but I haven't downloaded it yet. But yeah, I've been enjoying some more of the DLC, and it's pretty good. Again, as we discussed, not as good as it could be, but I'm still enjoying my time with it. And I've been playing some Honkai Star Rail, which I don't need to go into. It's an anime game, gotcha stuff, casual stuff. But yeah, enjoying that too.
Oh yeah. Christian, what did? No, I'm just kidding. Gage, what you got for me?
I've actually been sucked back into Halo Infinite a little bit, for somebody who has not been playing it as much as I thought I would be over the past couple years. But the last month and a half, 2 months, I've been playing it pretty regularly, and I've enjoyed my time with it. And then the second game that I'm less eager to talk about is Alan Wake 2.
Oh,
Less eager.
Which is certainly it's a game. It's a survival horror game, and everybody seems to really, really like it, and so I'm playing it. And
how far in are you now?
I want to say I'm about 5.5, 6 hours. Although that's skewed because I don't think I'm as far as I should be within that time period. I've gotten stuck on a couple of things and gotten very frustrated.
Oh,
But yeah, I'm playing as Alan Wake, I should say, and I'm kind of wandering around a city, so that should tell you roughly where I am. But
I think the section you're at. Sorry, I don't mean to take over, but
no, go ahead.
The section you're at with Alan, I got frustrated there as well. So like, once you get through the part you're at that I think you're at, it gets a lot better, like significantly better.
I'm hoping so, and I'm still willing to give that. I just need to buckle down and actually make sure I play it before next week, so that I can. I would like to be wrong. Like, the vibes of this game seem totally cool, and that's the one thing. The atmosphere in this game is perfect, but there's a couple of things that I really think is not, the quality is not as great as other people. I'm struggling with the dialogue. I think some of the dialogue's not really good, where other people have no problem with it, but I'm willing for it to turn around. There's maybe a plot related reason as to why people say stupid shit all the time, that in my head I'm kind of giving like, okay, I'll wait and see, but I don't know. This is not the Naughty Dog masterpiece that is Twitter made it out to be. But as we said, Twitter always is not always the smartest place to read things. So we'll see. I'm really glad Christian's not here today.
Yeah, I won't lambast you, but man, I love that game.
I want to love it. I want to love it, and we still got plenty of time. How long is the game? 20 hours or so?
Yeah, like my playthrough was just short of 24 hours, I think. So
Okay, so I mean, I'm not even past the first third of the game yet. So hopefully it spins around for me.
hell yeah. All right. We're going to move into the topic of the show, guys. The Xbox Developer Direct was last Thursday, right after our pod. Of course, they can't ever fucking do it the day of our pod, so we have something to talk about. It's the day after. But first up, we got a look at Avowed. I'm just going to go in order of what they showed off here. So we got a pretty deep gameplay look and a lot of dialogue that we got to see, like the dialogue tree in action, of course, that Obsidian and Bethesda is known for. And they also dated it with a fall 2024 release date. So yeah, I was very excited to see Avowed, and I think it looked good. I think what's interesting to me though is Outer Worlds had the exact same reaction from me when I saw it for the first time, like gameplay wise. I was like, this is good, but I gotta see it in action. And then I fucking loved Outer Worlds. So I hope this is the same way where I'm looking at the Avowed gameplay and I'm like, this is good. And then I fucking get blown away. That's what I'm hoping for. But what do you think?
I was actually gonna. You kind of answered my question, but I was going to ask if your opinion on the Avowed gameplay has changed at all, because I've seen it a few times since, and as much as I was incredibly hyped to see it at first, and I think that's because I'm taking in a lot of things like the graphics, the art style, but I've since seen clips, and I'm focusing on the actual second-to-second gameplay, and I feel like it seems like it's very slow and kind of bland. But again, hopefully I'm wrong. I'm always cheering for Obsidian, like you and I've talked about on this podcast before. They made some of the best Western RPGs ever, and you and I kind of agree on that. So I want Avowed to be great, but I've noticed specifically when the sword and shield gameplay, when he's fighting a bunch of these frogmen, like it just seems very slow and kind of clunky. But I hope that when the controller's in your hand, it maybe feels a bit differently, and maybe they're slowing things down for the purposes of demo. I don't know, but I did notice that since my first reaction, I've kind of soured a little bit on it, where it doesn't seem as intense as it was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I think my opinion was about the similar at the get-go. Like I was excited to see it, and then I saw it and I'm like, yeah, this is good, but I got to actually play it. And like I said, that was the exact reaction I had to Outer Worlds. So I went into that expecting to have like a decent experience, and then I loved that game. So like
Right.
I'm hoping. Rose, is this gonna pull you in? Is it gonna?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. That's fair.
I don't
That's
know.
fair.
I'm not a huge, honestly, not a huge Western RPG guy
That's
that
fair.
much. If I'm playing an RPG, it's usually a Japanese Eastern RPG. That's just kind of more my style, I guess. But I did like the last part of this showing the visual style of the world. Like I thought it looked like a cool world to explore at the very least. But like you guys are saying, like the combat didn't really wow me that much. And I don't know, there's some games that could pull off these character styles. To me, like the talking bits feels very almost PS4, PS3 era to
Kind of
me.
janky, right?
Yeah, a little janky. And I think that's the style that they have done all this time, and that I guess they're known for at this point. But as someone who hasn't played a lot of their games, to me, it's not gonna bring me in, because I guess I just don't have as much experience with these games as everyone else does. So when I see that, it doesn't really sell me on the game as much as it turns me off a little bit more, unfortunately.
Yeah, and some of the voice acting in that trailer was a little weird too. Like the one dude that was like a monster looking dude, and he just sounded like a normal person. That was a little jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy in the yellow, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, who? Frank? Do I know
Frank?
you?
Yeah.
Before we move on from Avowed, I gotta shout it out. incredible key art for this game, and the past 6 months has been pretty good to us too. Like I shouted out a while ago, but the finals had really incredible key art as well. So I love it's a very small part of games, and it's a part that people really only talk about when a game gets revealed and then never again.
Yeah.
But first impressions are super important, and I think that although it's a small job, it's a really like I want to shout out people that do key art and stuff like that because the Avowed key art is fucking incredible. It looks so good.
It is dope.
The Halo Infinite key art from 2020 better than the 2021 one. Why the fuck did we change it?
They changed it.
I need to look this up now.
You haven't seen that? Oh
Well,
man.
I have, but I don't.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
keep it all in my head.
It's the one with Chief looking out at the ring in the Pelican, whereas obviously you know what launched the launch key art.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that key art. That's so good.
It's pretty good.
All right. So Hellblade 2 was shown next, and we finally have a release date, and it is set for May 21st on Series S and X and PC. And Christian is gonna get another banger there. I'm afraid.
Maybe.
Maybe. Come on now.
I have a feeling this game looks so impressive visually that I worry it might be one of those like it's over in 7 hours games, and it might take everybody by surprise.
And that's the next point here. So
right.
it is a digital only title, so it will not get a physical release. It's $49.99, so $20 cheaper than a normal game, and it is similar in length to the original game. So it seems like it should be a lot prettier than the original game, obviously, this many years later, but it's going to be similar in length to the first Hellblade game. But everything we've seen from this game, I've been very excited and very impressed by visually and even the gameplay. Like they've redid the combat for this game as well that they were talking about in their extended preview as well. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah. I haven't played the original yet, but every time I see both of those games, I'm always impressed by how it looks, and it seems like it's super immersive type of game. So maybe someday, try the original.
Indeed. The original is good. Yes, you should try it. Yeah. I remember when it came, I think it came exclusively to PlayStation at that time too, originally. Like it was timed exclusive. Yeah. And I played it.
You're right, yeah.
I played it on PlayStation. Yeah, when I played it. All right. Moving on. We've got Visions of Mana, which I apologize. I don't know that much about this franchise, but I'm sure Ro knows lots about this, right, Ro?
I know that it's been a while since we've got one.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yes. So the fact that it's back, I think, means good things for what we can expect from the game. Because I don't know why would you bring it back if you don't have something new to do with the franchise, something worth making a one almost 2 decades later. So that's exciting in itself. But this is the type of game that I guess I would be more interested in from this lineup here, and I am interested in it. I don't think it's like a lot of people on Twitter were saying like, oh, it looks amazing, and maybe they're Vision of Mana fans, so they've been waiting for this day. But it reminds me of a game that I really liked called Tales of Arise, which has a similar combat system. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying this. I haven't played a Vision of Mana game before, so I'm definitely interested in it, and it's cool to see Japanese developers on the Xbox stage as well. That means they're having a little bit more relationships with that side because they don't have that many Japanese games on their platform that much. A lot of partnerships, I should say. So that's cool.
I'm so glad I didn't throw you under the bus with that one because I was just staking it all that you knew anything about this. Yeah,
clamoring there. I was reaching into the far reaches of my brain, like, do I know anything?
Dan saw the art style. He's like, we got to get this one to Ro.
No, that was great. Thank you, Ro. That was beautiful.
I had to look it up there because I was confused when you said there hadn't been a game in 15 years because I remember I worked at EB Games 2019 going into 2020, and we had on repeat playing in the store this trailer for this game Trials of Mana, which I guess is a remake of.
Yeah, of another
Okay,
one.
so I because I was like, what? I swear we just got one
I've
of these.
seen
I
this
remember
one.
seeing the trailer for this fucking game over
Yeah.
and over again. But Trials of Mana, which came out in 2020, was a remake of the 1995 game. So, yeah, I was actually debating on picking this up for Fantasy Critic only because of my time working at GameStop. I had a bunch of people coming and asking about Trials of Mana all the time, and I was like, oh, this must be like a big thing that people are excited for. But very cool to see Xbox branching out, and like you guys both mentioned, definitely trying to tap into the Japanese Eastern market, which Xbox has historically struggled in. So kind of cool to see them extending an olive branch and trying to make some more connections with different markets, because that's always a good sign.
For sure. Hell yeah. This next game, guys, got a actually pretty substantial segment in the show. I was like, damn, I didn't expect it to get this big of a segment. So props to Xbox for giving, everybody a proper amount of time. Aura History Untold got a new look with a pretty decent developer diary that they were discussing the game. And honestly, seeing this game, I was actually pretty interested. I'm interested to see more from it because it definitely gives off serious Civilization vibes. I'm not a huge fan of turn-based combat necessarily, turn-based strategy games or turn-based in general. I'm normally a fan of RTSs, real-time strategies, or like city builders or that kind of thing. And this kind of walks the line, I feel like, between the two, which is interesting. But yeah, I think this game looks really good. And for like this little developer that's making it, I'm pretty sure it's an indie developer that's making this game as well. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, I'm very impressed by this game.
It'll be cool to see if this shakes up the what do you call it, 4X 4D sort of strategy thing, because I know that for that style of games, Civilization has kind of been the undisputed king for eons now. But similar to you, Dan, like I'm very much a fan of real-time strategy of moving your units around on a map, kind of, and having to fight people second to second, making decisions second to second, and then city building. So I've never, like when I was watching this one, as soon as it zoomed out and I saw the sort of hexagon tiles, that's where I was like, okay, this is where it starts to lose me, because I don't really like the, like you said, turn-based strategy and grand strategy and all these different names they have for it. But I much prefer a small scale sort of like focusing on units, like I said, second to second gameplay. So this isn't for me, but it'll be cool. Like we always say with a lot of things, more competition in any sort of field is a good thing. So if this can come out and really shake things up, then I don't know if Civilization has gotten stale. I don't play those games, but like I said, if that is the consensus, then this will be a good thing for Civilization fans and fans of Aura, because competition helps shake things up and keeps things fresh. So, and like you said at the very beginning, very cool of Xbox to give them a good amount of time too. It wasn't like they just opened the show with Aura and it's like, all right, 5 minutes in and out, we got to get to Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it was cool that they gave everybody their sort of time in the sun.
Glenn says that he really loved the look of that game as well and had mentioned it to you, Gage. So,
which game is that? Is this Aura?
I believe so, because he typed it as you were speaking about it. So,
okay,
yeah,
I didn't know when the comment was made, but yeah, Aura. Yeah, I think Glenn did mention this to me, and yeah, if it was, I mean, we'll see how it plays. Like you said, Dan, it kind of walks that line. It's kind of hard to understand exactly how it plays. So if it is a bit more RTS, then this could be something that I look into, especially if it's on Game Pass.
For sure. All right. We've made it to the moment we've been waiting for, or I've been waiting for. I don't want to speak for you guys. So the rumors were true, and the name is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle by Machine Games. So we finally have the title. We got our first good look at the gameplay. We got a gameplay trailer, and of course another bit of dev diary talk in there. Todd Howard stealing the golden idol at the end of the trailer, which I fucking love that. It's so cheesy and stupid, but I fucking love that shit. I don't know. But there is some discourse with this game being shown off, which I wanted to start with, I guess. A lot of people were discussing first person and it being an action adventure game, and does it make sense? It switches from first person to third person when you're climbing things. I know Christian was not as big of a fan of first person in terms of like action adventure, so I just wanted to throw that in there with him not being here. For me, I think it makes a lot of sense because Machine Games is a first person developer. They've made first person games, and I know that's not, through the history of video games, developers have changed genres a million times over. Like Bungie fucking made an RTS before they made Halo. So, but I think it is kind of smart for them to lean into their expertise a bit with first person, because they're not only starting a new franchise. I know it's, based on an IP, but a new franchise for Machine Games, but they're also trying to dip their toes into more of an narrative experience, I would call it, than Wolfenstein. I think Wolfenstein had a great story and all of that, but I don't know if it was like, I don't know, maybe I'm not describing it properly, but like that action adventure, like film, like fucking crazy shit going on, and I don't know, jumping over death pits, and I don't know. But yeah, and the third person thing of like climbing, I think that makes perfect sense because you want to make sure that your player gets some time with this character that is so beloved to be able to see them. Obviously, you see them in cutscenes, but also I think, the traversal stuff, it makes sense because if I'm climbing a pipe, I don't know that it's necessarily a great experience for me personally, being like right on the pipe in first person, like seeing your hands climb the pipe. Like I think the third person view makes more sense for me, to kind of get into that a little bit more. But yeah, what were your guys' thoughts on that? I don't.
It's interesting. I half agree with you in terms of when I saw the trailer was released, and then obviously you go to Twitter and see the. I think it's important for us to clarify that there's a lot of internet discourse. I feel like if I were to be a fly on the wall at like a GameStop or like a video game store, I can imagine a lot of dads bringing their kids in and seeing the Indiana Jones trailer and going, "Oh, cool," and then not thinking about it, right? So I think this is probably like an internet thing where just people who are terminally online just have to fucking bitch about everything. But first person discourse, I think it makes total sense that this is a first-person game for the exact reasons that you said. It's weird that people got it in their heads without any evidence that it would be third-person, and then now are disappointed that it's the thing it always was. That's a very strange thing to get upset about. I disagree with you on the snapping in and out of first and third person. Oh. I hate that. I hate when Ro and I talked about this forever ago. But whenever there's a third-person game and you aim down the sights and it snaps to first person, I hate that shit. I always want consistency. Yeah. So I think it's very weird. The exception being cutscenes. I think it's cool that, if you're playing a first-person game and it cuts out to, you see your character. Obviously, Halo's done that forever. That's fine because you're showing a movie sort of cinematic presence when you're doing the cutscenes. But, like, do I want to see Indiana Jones... Like, do I want to see his backside while I'm climbing a mountain for like a minute and a half when it's just like this little climbing segment? Not really. There's a scene in this where it shows that you are in first person when he's doing like this puzzle where he kind of like plants this giant wheel. But then when you pull the lever to finish the puzzle, it cuts out to third person, and I can already see that this is going to get a little bit silly for me, for my personal taste of the snapping back and forth. I'd rather it be like, if I'm using a zip line, I think it would be cooler to do it in first person and to kind of see my feet up in the air. And especially if there's a Nazi at the end of the rope, you just kind of just watch your boot kick that guy in the fucking face. I would prefer that. So I disagree with the cutting back and forth. I always prefer a game to do consistency with its visual and perspective. But I think most people won't care. I think most people, and when I say most people, I'm talking about a lot of fucking dads that are like fucking 40 or 50 that are so excited to play as Indiana Jones. Like, good for them. This is going to be fun. I don't have this huge connection to Indiana Jones, so I'm not really super crazy on this game. If the reviews come out and it's a really well-made Machine Games game, then I will play it for that reason. But first person, I don't mind at all. First person / third person, I think is a little annoying. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with the statement that you said about expecting it to be third person, where there was no no evidence that it would be third person, and then being
Right.
disappointed about it. That doesn't make any sense. I would have preferred it to be third person, but I wouldn't say that I'm like mad at them for not doing that. Like I think it would have been cool because I like that view better, and I agree that consistency always feels better, even if I don't prefer the first person view. I think it feels better. I did mention to Dan that I think in the chat that I think being in third person for traversal and environmental puzzles does feel better than first person, which I think Dan just said mentioned earlier. Being in the face of a pipe is not as fun as being out facing the back and just being able to see the environment a little bit better. It just feels better. But yeah, switching back and forth is annoying because I just missed the other version after when you switch back to first. I'm like, damn, I still want to see his back right now. I still want to look at that Indiana Jones butt right now. But no, I gotta look through the point. But like we said, they are really good at first person games, so I'm sure it's going to feel good. But there's a certain scene in the trailer, as you were mentioning, the switching back and forth, that he's on a rope swinging in third person, and then it cuts to him jumping onto a Nazi below, and it's like, oh, that looks kind of janky. And is it every time, like in a combat situation, every time he swings, it's going to switch back and forth? Like I could see that happening so many times in like a matter of minutes based on what you're doing in a given situation. And that would be really annoying, just like going third to first back. Maybe there's going to be settings to switch that off. I don't know. But yeah, I can see that being annoying as well. But I'm interested in this. I thought the story looked fun, at least. I'm also not super into Indiana Jones. I haven't watched I think I've watched any of the movies. I might have seen one of them.
Oh wow.
I think I've seen the first one. But yeah, I'm not super attached to the character, but I love Uncharted, and I know Uncharted is inspired by Indiana Jones. So I think I would enjoy this. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I do wonder if that's part of the and I briefly talked about it with Gage off the air. I wonder if that's part of the reason why they wanted first person was because they don't want the comparisons to Uncharted or Tomb Raider, like the recent reboots, because like those are such high bars to hit already. So like it's like if you're in third person and that doesn't quite hit the Uncharted experience, are people going to be like just shitting on the game because it is a very similar game and obviously was inspired by the franchise. So it is, yeah, it's interesting. I
think you're onto something there, absolutely. Because I think if I'm the executives over at Disney that don't understand how video games work, I would probably want the game to be a third person. You know what I mean? Like, I might not know the right terminology because, like I said, I'm a fucking idiot executive that owns this IP. But all I know is I want people looking at Indiana Jones all the time, right? And that translates to third person. You want people controlling a virtual Indiana Jones action figure running around. So I would imagine that there was probably pressure on Machine Games to make it a third person. And I think you're totally right. Whether or not the main motivator was sticking to their roots and what they're good at, or not getting compared to Uncharted / Tomb Raider, I think the stars kind of aligned for them to be like, we don't want to be third person. And I think you're absolutely right. That's totally a part of it because the comparisons would be immediate. And it's hard to one up Naughty Dog, right? Like we all talk about like when it comes to video game studios, when it comes to quality of animation and graphics and fidelity, Rockstar and Naughty Dog, they're in a tier of their own. So if you immediately make an adventure game that's third person, you're in dangerous waters already for sure.
Yes, agreed. One more thing I wanted to mention specifically. I thought, and I don't know what the discourse, or if there's been discourse on this or not, or like people with different opinions, but I thought Troy Baker does a great Harrison Ford impression. Like, when we first heard him, like in the first few lines, I didn't even know that it was Troy until like midway through. I was like, is that Troy? And then, yeah, obviously it was confirmed that it was Troy. But yeah, I think Troy did a great job with the little bit we've heard from him thus far. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job too. I think Christian was able to pick up on it apparently, but I think what I saw a lot online is that they weren't mad at the performance, but they were mad that Troy Baker was the one performing.
Yes.
Rather than I think it's a mix of he's the usual pick for any video game character, and it's like, oh, what about anybody else? Or the fact that he was, promoting the NFTs years ago, but people are still thinking about that, I guess. But I think he did a good job.
That the totally fair criticisms, and normally I think I would agree with like the whole like let's not pick the top dogs and let's get some other people in here, but like sometimes it actually works very well, and like they're like positioned to be like to fit that role so perfectly. Like for instance, like I still cannot fucking believe how good of a job Troy Baker did with the Joker in Batman Arkham Origins. He sounds exactly like Mark Hamill, and like that's so impressive to me because I love Mark Hamill, and that Joker is something I grew up with. Like, yeah.
It's tough because I see what Rose's saying, where it's like I remember like, oh god, we're getting to the point where I'm saying 10 years ago and it's not exaggerative. It's actually 10 years ago. But like I would be like cheering on people like Nolan North and Troy Baker. I was like, yeah, these are the fucking guys, man. But we've gotten to the point where like 10 years on, it is kind of getting to the point where it's like, do you need to have, this actor do all of these roles, or can you try and find somebody else and let somebody else break into the spotlight? It kind of reminds me like when you go see like a movie and they have like an older actor play himself and the younger version of himself with some weird like AI CGI, where it's like, couldn't you have just found somebody that kind of looks like him and given them a shot at like sort of doing that?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is like every now and again there's a role that like Troy or Nolan North, like they might really do well in and they deserve it, but because they're so oversaturated, it kind of takes away from it. Like hearing Troy do this performance, I'm like, oh shit, this is a really good match. I wish I hadn't seen him in everything else so that it would feel special that he's this. If you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like there's so many other smaller roles he's done that could have been given to other people. Where I always think of the business side of things, where again, an IP this big, the people behind the scenes probably would have wanted a big personality to do this role to make sure that it lands and it's really, they get like a top tier performance. So like, do I disagree with Troy in this particular role? Not at all. I think he does a great job. I think you're totally right, Dan. He sounds awesome. It's just, I think people would have been more excited had he not been in literally everything else.
True. Very true. That's all I had. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about from Indiana Jones or any of the other games from the Direct?
Not really, man. I really want Avowed to hit. I want Avowed to feel really good in my hands. Maybe just possibly they had somebody from Polygon playing the demo, and that's why it didn't look as good. Maybe when it's in my hands, I can run around like Ninja Gaiden and have this game feel really smooth. But Avowed, I really want it to hit, but we'll see. Chelsea.
Letter grade from each of you for this developer direct.
Ooh. How long was it? 45 minutes? 40 minutes?
Yeah, like 45, something like that.
I would give it honestly, I'll give it an A. Like I wouldn't say I was disappointed because my expectations were met. They were, the Indiana Jones trailer was there. It looked good. The Avowed trailer was there. I didn't love it, but it was there, like they promised. And the Vision of Mana thing looks really good. Like if I was to rate the games, it might be a different score. But I think the presentation was good. They gave enough time to everybody. Even though not everything was interesting to me, I think they did a good job with presenting it. So I would give it an A, honestly, for what it is.
You know what? PXN's resident pessimist. I'm gonna have to agree with him. I was thinking about it, and I was I found myself adjusting the score lower and lower, but I'm like, there's no real reason to. For a developer direct, they did a really good job. They were in and out. They gave every game time to breathe. They gave every game a good amount of footage and, developer commentary. I would give this an A as well. I think this is what we need to see more of from Xbox if they want to do these quarterly or, 3 time a year developer directs. This is the format they should follow. This was a really good show. I think I would give it an A as well. I think it was a very good show.
And let's just make it a trio. A's across the board.
Wait, wow.
Yeah.
Certified A.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you guys said. They did a great job of and it's a smaller event. This isn't, the game showcase for E3,
Right.
Not E3, but
Right.
yeah. So, yeah.
For
Good
that,
job.
that got an F.
Yeah. Good job, Xbox. But thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian, who will return next week. And thank you, Gage. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Adios.